Sign the papers, Elena. You leave with nothing. Marcus Hartwell's voice cut through the conference room like a blade. His pregnant wife sat frozen across the table, her hands trembling over her swollen belly. Victoria Hartwell. His mother slid the divorce documents forward with manicured fingers. The marriage is over. Marcus has found someone more suitable. Someone who can properly represent the Hartwell name. Elena's world shattered in that sterile room. 7 months pregnant, homeless, penniless, betrayed by the man who had promised to love her forever. But what the Hartwells didn't know was that Elena had survived worse. And somewhere in the mountains of Vermont, an abandoned mansion was waiting for her, holding secrets that would change everything. Before we continue this incredible story, please subscribe to our channel and follow Elena's journey to the very end. Comment below with the city you're watching from, so I can see how far this story has traveled. Now, let's begin. Elena Hartwell knew something was wrong the moment Marcus refused to meet her eyes. 3 years of marriage had taught her to read her husband. She knew his tells, the way he tugged his collar when he was nervous, the way his jaw tightened when he was angry, the way he looked away when he was lying. Right now, he was doing all three. Marcus, why are we here? You said we needed to discuss something important. Why couldn't we talk at home? Victoria Hartwell answered instead. Because this isn't a conversation for home, Elena. This is business. Elena's hand moved instinctively to her belly. Her daughter kicked hard as if sensing danger. What business? I don't understand. Marcus finally spoke, but his voice was wrong. Flat. Cold. Professional. Elena, we've been discussing your situation extensively, and we've come to a decision. Your situation, not our situation. What does that mean? Victoria pulled a thick folder from her briefcase and slid it across the table. It means the marriage is over. You'll sign these divorce papers today. The prenuptial agreement outlines the terms clearly. You leave with your personal belongings. Nothing else. Elena laughed. She actually laughed because surely this was a joke. Some terrible, twisted joke. Marcus, tell me she's joking. He didn't answer. Marcus? She's not joking, Elena. I want a divorce. The words hit her like a physical blow. She gripped the edge of the table, suddenly dizzy. We're having a baby. Our daughter. She's due in 2 months. You can't just... About that. Victoria's voice dripped with contempt. We'll require a paternity test before any custody arrangements are discussed. A paternity test? Are you insane? Marcus is the only man I've ever been with. So you claim. Elena turned to her husband, desperate now. Tell her she's wrong. You know the truth, Marcus. You know I've never... Do I? His voice was ice. Do I really know anything about you, Elena? You came from nothing. No family, no history. Just a foster kid who got lucky. The cruelty of it stole her breath. Lucky you think marrying you was luck. I loved you. I gave up everything for you. My career, my independence. My entire life revolved around making you happy. And look where that got us. Marcus stood buttoning his jacket. I've met someone else. Her name is Sophia. She works in my office. Elena felt the room tilt. How long does it matter? How long, Marcus? Almost a year. A year. While she was decorating their nursery, choosing paint colors, dreaming about their future, he was sleeping with another woman. Every business trip. Every late night at the office. Every time he said he was too tired to talk. Lies. All of it lies. There's more, Victoria said, clearly enjoying herself. Sophia is also pregnant, due 2 months after you. She'll be the new Mrs. Hartwell by summer. Elena couldn't breathe. The walls were closing in. Her vision blurred with tears she refused to shed. You're replacing me. You're literally replacing me with a newer model. I'm starting over, Marcus corrected, with someone who actually belongs in my world. I belonged in your world. You put me in your world. You pursued me for 6 months before I agreed to a single date. You begged me to marry you. You got down on your knees and cried when I said yes. I was young, foolish. My mother warned me, but I didn't listen." Victoria smiled. "He's listening now." Elena stood so quickly, her chair toppled backward. Her pregnant body swayed, but she steadied herself against the table. "I won't sign anything. I'm going to get a lawyer. I'm going to fight this." "With what money?" Victoria's laugh was sharp and cruel. "The accounts are frozen. The credit cards are canceled. The house belongs to Marcus. You have nothing, Elena. You are nothing. Just like you were before my son made the mistake of noticing you. The baby will be well cared for by us. If the paternity test confirms Marcus is the father, we'll seek full custody. Given your mental instability and lack of resources, no court in this state will side with you." "Mental instability? I'm not mentally unstable." "Aren't you? A woman with no family history, no medical records, no documentation of her childhood. Who knows what genetic disorders you might be carrying, what psychological issues you've hidden from us." Elena realized with horror that they had planned this. Every word, every accusation, every attack had been carefully scripted. They weren't just divorcing her. They were destroying her. "You can't do this. You can't take my baby." Marcus was already walking toward the door. "Sign the papers by Friday, Elena. Accept the small settlement we're offering and walk away quietly. Fight us, and I promise you, you will never hold that child in your arms." "Marcus, please. Please. I'm begging you. Whatever I did wrong, I can fix it. Just tell me what I did wrong." He paused at the door. For one moment, one brief moment, something human flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone. "You didn't do anything wrong, Elena. You just weren't enough. You were never enough." The door closed behind him. Victoria lingered, gathering her papers with deliberate slowness. "The security team will escort you from the house tomorrow. You have 24 hours to collect your personal belongings. And Elena..." She paused at the door, her smile razor-sharp. "Don't think about running. We have people watching you. We'll always be watching." Then she was gone, and Elena was alone. She stood in that conference room for a long time, one hand pressed against her belly, where her daughter continued to kick, fighting even before she was born. "I'm sorry," Elena whispered. "I'm so sorry, baby, but I promise you I will figure this out. I won't let them win." Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. "Mrs. Hartwell." A cold, professional voice. "This is Jennifer Walsh from Preston and Associates. I'm calling to inform you that your husband has filed an emergency motion for temporary custody of the unborn child. A hearing has been scheduled for next week. You'll need to appear in court." Next week, but the baby isn't even born yet. The court can establish custody arrangements prior to birth in cases where there are concerns about the mother's fitness. Mr. Hartwell has submitted documentation suggesting you may be a flight risk. I haven't done anything, I just found out about the divorce an hour ago. That's not my concern, Mrs. Hartwell. I'm simply informing you of the proceedings. Have a good evening. The line went dead. Elena stared at her phone. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold it. They weren't just trying to divorce her. They weren't just trying to take her home, her money, her life. They were trying to take her baby before she was even born. Elena left the law firm in a daze. She drove to the brownstone that had been her home for 3 years, her mind racing through options that didn't exist, solutions that wouldn't work. She could call a lawyer, but she couldn't afford one. She could call the police. But what crime had been committed? She could call a friend. But Marcus had systematically isolated her over the years. The friends she'd had before marriage had drifted away. The friends she'd made since were really his friends, his colleagues, his social circle. She was utterly alone. The brownstone looked different when she pulled up. It took her a moment to realize why. A security guard stood at the front door. Elena approached slowly, her heart pounding. "Ma'am?" The guard held up his hand. I need to see identification. I live here. This is my home. Your name? Elena Hartwell. The guard checked his clipboard. Mrs. Hartwell, I've been instructed to allow you access to collect personal belongings only. You have until noon tomorrow to remove your items. After that, the locks will be changed. Noon tomorrow, Victoria said I had 24 hours. My orders are from Mr. Marcus Hartwell directly. Noon tomorrow. You can start now if you'd like. Elena pushed past him into the house she had loved, the home she had created with her own hands. It already felt different, colder, emptier, as if the house itself knew she no longer belonged. She walked through the rooms in a trance. The living room where she and Marcus had watched movies curled up together on the couch. The kitchen where she had learned to cook his favorite meals. The bedroom where they had made love, where they had created the child now growing inside her. All of it lost. She climbed the stairs to the nursery. The door was closed. Elena pushed it open and felt her heart crack in two. The nursery was perfect. Soft yellow walls she had painted herself. White curtains that caught the morning light. A crib with a mobile of silver stars. A rocking chair by the window where she had imagined nursing her daughter, singing lullabies, watching her sleep. None of it was hers anymore. Ma'am. The security guard had followed her upstairs. I need to inform you that nothing in this room can be removed. Mr. Hartwell has specified that all baby items are to remain in the house. I painted these walls. I made those curtains with my own hands. I'm sorry, ma'am. My orders are clear. Elena walked to the crib and picked up the small stuffed rabbit she had bought on the day she found out she was pregnant. It was soft and white with floppy ears and a stitched smile. Can I take this, just this one thing? The guard hesitated. I don't see why not. It's just a toy. Elena clutched the rabbit to her chest and began to cry. She packed through the night. 2 suitcases. That was all she was allowed. 2 suitcases to contain 32 years of life. She took clothes, photos, the jewelry box that had belonged to her mother, the one thing the foster system hadn't managed to lose. She took her sketchbooks filled with the designs she had never shown anyone. She took the stuffed rabbit. Everything else she left behind. At 11:30 the next morning, Elena loaded her suitcases into her Honda. The security guard watched her the entire time. Ma'am, I need to inspect the bags before you leave. Inspect them for what? To ensure you haven't taken any marital property. Elena opened her suitcases on the driveway, spreading her pitiful belongings across the pavement, while the security guard picked through her underwear and photographed her jewelry. Neighbors watched from their windows. People she had smiled at for 3 years, invited to dinner parties, exchanged Christmas cards with. Not one of them came outside. Not one of them offered help. Everything appears to be in order, the guard finally said. You're free to go. Elena loaded her suitcases back into the car. Her back ached. Her feet were swollen. Her daughter kicked relentlessly as if demanding to know what was happening. I don't know, baby, Elena whispered. I don't know where we're going. She drove. She had no destination, no plan. She just drove, putting miles between herself and the life that had been stolen from her. Her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Mrs. Hartwell, this is Detective Rodriguez with Boston PD. We've received a report that you may have taken property belonging to your husband. I need to ask you some questions. Elena nearly drove off the road. Property, I took my own clothes. The report mentions a jewelry box and some personal electronics. Mr. Hartwell claims these items were purchased with marital funds. The jewelry box belonged to my mother. It's the only thing I have from her. Do you have documentation proving ownership prior to the marriage? Elena thought of her childhood, foster homes, group houses, social workers who lost her paperwork more often than they kept it. No, I don't have documentation. Then I'm going to need you to return to Boston for questioning. Failure to comply could result in criminal charges. Criminal charges for taking my own things. Ma'am, I'm just following procedure. Where are you currently located? Elena looked at the road stretching ahead of her. The snow-covered mountains in the distance. The nowhere she was headed. She hung up the phone. Then she turned it off. They were coming for her. The lawyers, the police, the entire Hartwell machine. She had no money, no support, no legal protection. She had nothing but a borrowed car and 2 suitcases, and a baby who would be born in 2 months into a world that already wanted to take her away. Elena pulled into a rest stop and sat in her car shaking. "What do I do?" she asked the empty air. "God, if you're listening, what do I do?" Her daughter kicked. Elena looked down at her belly at the small life she was protecting. "I can't give up. I know I can't give up. But I don't know what to do next." She reached into the back seat for a bottle of water and accidentally knocked one of her suitcases open. Clothes spilled out. Papers scattered. Elena cursed and started gathering everything back together. That's when she found the envelope. It was at the very bottom of the suitcase, tucked beneath a pile of sweaters. Thick manila sealed with wax bearing an elaborate crest she had never seen before. Her name was written on the front in elegant cursive. Elena frowned. She hadn't packed this. She was absolutely certain she hadn't packed this. She had gone through every item, every piece of clothing, every corner of her suitcases. This envelope had not been there, and yet here it was. With trembling fingers, Elena broke the seal. Inside was a stack of legal documents, a deed, a map, and a letter on paper yellowed with age, the handwriting elegant and old-fashioned. The letter was dated 15 years ago. Elena began to read. "Dear Elena, if you're reading this, you've found yourself in dire circumstances. I knew this day might come, though. I prayed it wouldn't. My name was Margaret Holloway, and I was your grandmother. Your mother's mother, the one you were never told about." Elena stopped breathing. Grandmother. She had a grandmother. She had family. All those years in foster homes, believing she was alone in the world, and she had family. She forced herself to keep reading. "Your mother and I were estranged before you were born. She ran away at 17, fell into addiction, cut herself off from everyone who loved her. By the time I found her again, she was gone, and you had disappeared into the system. I spent years searching for you, Elena. The bureaucracy was designed to protect children, but it also made it impossible for me to find you. By the time I finally located you, you were already grown. I watched you from afar. I was so proud of you. The way you built a life from nothing. The way you survived when so many others would have given up. When you married into the Hartwell family, I was afraid. I knew their reputation. I knew what they were capable of. I prayed you would be happy, but I prepared for the worst. The enclosed deed is to Holloway House, my family's ancestral home in the mountains of Vermont. It has been empty for over a decade waiting for you. The property is in your name, legally transferred through a trust that cannot be contested or claimed by anyone else. Not your husband. Not his lawyers. Not anyone. The house has secrets, Elena. Some beautiful, some dark. But it will protect you. It always protects those who are worthy. Find warmth in the cold, dear granddaughter, and when you do, share it with others who have been left in winter. With love. I never got to show you Margaret Holloway. Elena read the letter 3 times. Then she unfolded the map. Holloway House, northern Vermont. Nearly 4 hours away deep in the mountains. A place the Hartwells knew nothing about. A place they could never find her. Elena started her car. She wasn't running away. She was running toward something. The drive north was treacherous. As Elena climbed in elevation, the scattered snow of the lowlands gave way to blizzard conditions. Her windshield wipers fought a losing battle against the accumulation. Her old Honda slipped and slid on roads that hadn't been plowed in hours. Twice she nearly drove off the road. 3 times she considered turning back. But turning back meant Boston. Meant lawyers and police and courts. Meant watching the Hartwells take her daughter away. She kept driving. Her phone had been off for hours, She didn't dare turn it on. They were tracking her, probably. The Hartwells had resources, connections, technology she couldn't imagine. Let them track a dead phone. The GPS had stopped working an hour ago. Elena navigated by the paper map Margaret had included, squinting at faded roads and landmarks that may or may not still exist. The baby kicked constantly now, as if she could sense her mother's fear. "Almost there," Elena promised. "Almost there, sweetheart." The turn came suddenly. A rusted mailbox with Holloway barely visible through the snow. A gap in the trees she almost missed entirely. Elena turned onto a private road that hadn't been plowed all winter. The Honda struggled. The wheels spun. The engine groaned. "Come on," Elena begged. "Come on, just a little further." The car died 50 feet from the house. Elena tried the ignition. Nothing. Tried again. Nothing. She was stranded. But through the windshield, through the swirling snow, she could see it. Holloway House. It was massive, Gothic, ancient. A Victorian mansion with spires reaching toward the darkening sky windows, like empty eyes, a wraparound porch buried in snow. It looked haunted. It looked like salvation. Elena grabbed her coat and stepped out into the storm. The cold hit her like a physical force, stealing her breath, burning her exposed skin. Snow came up past her knees as she waded toward the house. Her pregnant body made every step a struggle. She fell twice, catching herself on her hands, pushing herself back up through sheer determination. The front door seemed miles away, but she reached it. Massive oak. Iron bands. A brass knocker shaped like a lion's head. Elena grabbed the handle, expecting it to be locked. It turned easily. The door swung open on silent hinges. Elena stepped inside. Darkness. Dust. The smell of old wood and something else. Wood smoke. Elena fumbled for her phone, activated the flashlight. The beam revealed a grand entrance hall, a sweeping staircase, a crystal chandelier wrapped in cobwebs, and fresh footprints in the dust. Someone was here. Elena grabbed a heavy candlestick from a nearby table and held it like a weapon. "Hello, is someone there?" Her voice echoed through empty rooms. No response. But as she moved deeper into the house, following the scent of smoke, she heard it. Footsteps. Above her. Moving toward the stairs. Elena's heart pounded so hard she could hear it. "I know someone's there. I'm armed. This house is mine. Show yourself." The footsteps stopped. A figure appeared at the top of the staircase. Small. Female. Young. "You came." The figure's voice was barely a whisper. "After all this time, you finally came. Who are you?" The figure descended slowly, hands raised, clearly trying not to frighten her. As she stepped into the beam of Elena's flashlight, Elena saw a teenage girl, dark hair escaping from a wool hat, eyes that held far too much weariness for someone so young. "I'm Lily. Lily Santos. Mrs. Holloway told me you'd come someday. She made me promise to wait." "Margaret Holloway. You knew her." "I was with her when she died, 3 years ago. She talked about you constantly. Her granddaughter Elena, the one she could never reach." Elena lowered the candlestick slightly. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" Lily reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a photograph, yellowed with age. 2 women standing in front of this very house. One was clearly Margaret Holloway, older, gray-haired but unmistakable. The other was young, maybe 19, with wild hair and defiant eyes. Elena recognized her immediately. "That's my mother. Catherine Holloway, Mrs. Margaret's only daughter. Your mother stood exactly where you're standing now 30 years ago, right before she ran away and never came back." Elena took the photograph with trembling hands. She had no pictures of her mother. The foster system had taken everything. "She was beautiful," Elena whispered. "Mrs. Margaret said you looked just like her. She was right." Elena looked up from the photograph. "Why are you here, Lily? Why did you stay in an empty house for 3 years?" Because Mrs. Margaret asked me to. Because I had nowhere else to go. Lily's voice hardened. Because some of us understand what it means to be thrown away. The words hit too close to home. You aged out of the foster system. Lily nodded. Mrs. Margaret found me when I was 15, living on the streets. She brought me here, taught me how to survive. When she got sick, she made me promise to wait for you. She paused. She said you'd need this place someday. She said the house would know when to bring you home. That's impossible. I didn't even know this place existed until today. And yet here you are. Lily gestured toward Elena's pregnant belly. Running from something, needing somewhere safe. Elena felt the tears coming and couldn't stop them. My husband. He's trying to take my baby. He has lawyers and money and connections. He's going to take her from me. Not here, he won't. Lily's voice was fierce. No one finds this place unless the house wants them to. Mrs. Margaret used to say the mountains protect their own. That sounds like a fairy tale. Maybe. But you're here anyway, aren't you? Out of options, out of hope. Standing in a house that's been waiting 15 years for you to walk through that door. Elena looked around at the shadows, the dust, the ancient walls that seemed to breathe with secrets. What am I supposed to do now? Lily almost smiled. Now you survive. That's what people like us do, Elena. We survive. She turned and headed toward the back of the house. Come on, I'll show you where everything is. There's food supplies, medical equipment. Mrs. Margaret prepared for everything. Elena followed the strange girl through the shadows of Holloway House. She had lost everything. Her husband, her home, her money, her entire life. But as she walked deeper into the mansion, her grandmother had left her. She felt something she hadn't felt in hours. Hope. Small, fragile, but real. Her daughter kicked strong and insistent. I know, baby, Elena whispered. I feel it too. Lily paused at a doorway and looked back. There's something else you should know, Elena. Something Mrs. Margaret told me before she died. What? Lily's expression was unreadable in the darkness. She said your husband's family didn't find you by accident. She said the Hartwells have been looking for Holloway women for 3 generations. They've been watching this family for decades. Elena's blood turned to ice. What are you talking about? I don't know the whole story. Mrs. Margaret was going to tell me, but she ran out of time. Lily nodded toward the darkness beyond the doorway. But somewhere in this house, there's a room she kept locked. A room full of documents and photographs and secrets. She said when you came when you were ready, the house would show you the truth. The truth about what? Lily turned away. About why Marcus Hartwell really married you, and what his family has been planning all along. The door behind them slammed shut on its own, and somewhere deep in the house, a clock that hadn't worked in decades began to chime. Elena stood frozen, her hand on her belly, her heart pounding. She had come here looking for safety, but she was beginning to realize that Holloway House held something far more valuable. Answers. And in the shadows of the ancient mansion, those answers were waiting to be found. The chiming stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Elena counted 12 strikes. Midnight, but her watch showed only 7 in the evening. Does that happen often? She asked Lily. The clock hasn't worked in years. Mrs. Margaret said it only chimes when the house is trying to tell us something. Tell us what? Lily shook her head. I never figured that out, but I learned to pay attention when strange things happen here. Elena wanted to dismiss it as superstition. Old houses made noises. Clocks malfunctioned. There were rational explanations for everything. But she had also found an envelope that appeared from nowhere. She had driven through a blizzard to a house she never knew existed. She was standing in her dead grandmother's mansion talking to a girl who had been waiting 3 years for her arrival. Nothing about this situation was rational. Show me where I can sleep, Elena said. I need to rest. The baby has been kicking for hours. Lily led her through a maze of corridors, past rooms shrouded in darkness, up a staircase that groaned beneath their feet. This was Mrs. Margaret's room. She wanted you to have it. Elena pushed open the door and felt her breath catch. The room was warm. Not just slightly less cold than the rest of the house. Actually warm. A fire burned in the fireplace, steady and bright. The bed was made with fresh linens. A kettle steamed on a small table near the window. How is this possible? You said you didn't know I was coming today. Lily's expression was unreadable. I didn't. I've been staying in the groundskeeper's cottage. I only came to the main house this afternoon because something told me to check. Something told you? A feeling. Like the house was calling me. She paused. When I got here, the fire was already burning. The bed was already made. The kettle was already hot. Elena felt a chill despite the warmth. That's not possible. A lot of things in this house aren't possible, but they happen anyway. Lily moved toward the door. Get some rest. We'll talk more in the morning. There's food in the kitchen when you're hungry. Lily, wait. The girl paused. Thank you for staying, for waiting. You didn't have to do that. Something softened in Lily's guarded expression. Yeah, I did. Mrs. Margaret saved my life. This was the least I could do. She disappeared into the darkness, leaving Elena alone. Elena sat on the edge of the bed, her hand pressed against her belly. Her daughter had finally stopped kicking, exhausted perhaps by the day's journey. We made it, baby, Elena whispered. I don't know what comes next, but we made it. She wanted to explore. She wanted to find the locked room Lily had mentioned, the one full of secrets about the Hartwells. She wanted answers. But her body had other plans. The moment her head touched the pillow, she was asleep. Elena woke to sunlight streaming through the window and the smell of coffee. For one disorienting moment, she forgot where she was. She reached for Marcus, expecting to find his warm body beside her, expecting to hear him complaining about the alarm clock. Then memory crashed over her like a wave. The conference room, the divorce papers, the threats, the drive through the blizzard, the house. She was alone. No, not alone. She pressed her hand to her belly and felt her daughter move. Never alone again. Elena dressed quickly, in the warmest clothes she had packed, and followed the smell of coffee downstairs. She found Lily in the kitchen, standing over the massive iron stove, stirring something in a pot. You're awake. Good. You slept for 14 hours. 14 hours? Elena grabbed the back of a chair, suddenly dizzy. I never sleep that long. The baby usually wakes me every few hours. The house let you rest. You needed it. Lily ladled soup into a bowl and set it on the table. Eat. You're feeding too. Elena sat and ate mechanically, barely tasting the food. Her mind was racing. Lily, I need to know everything. About my grandmother. About this house. About the Hartwells. I know. Lily sat across from her. But first I need to ask you something. What do you know about your husband's family? Their history. They're rich, old money, real estate empire that goes back generations. Marcus's grandfather started the company in the 1940s. What else? Elena thought. They're private, secretive. Victoria controls everything, even though Marcus is technically the CEO now. She never approved of me, never thought I was good enough. Did she ever say why? Because I came from nothing. No family, no connections, no breeding, as she put it. Lily leaned forward. Did she ever mention your name? Your family name before you got married, I mean. My name, no. Why would she? I was Elena Mitchell, just another foster kid. Mitchell. Lily's eyes narrowed. That was your foster name. It was the name they gave me when I entered the system. I don't remember my birth name. I was only 3 when my mother died. Lily stood abruptly and walked to a cabinet in the corner. She pulled out a worn leather folder and placed it on the table. Mrs. Margaret gave me this. She said to show it to you when you arrived. Elena opened the folder with trembling hands. Inside were documents, birth certificates, marriage records, newspaper clippings dating back decades. The first document made her gasp. Birth certificate. Elena Catherine Holloway. Born March 15, 1992. Mother, Catherine Ann Holloway. Father, unknown. Holloway. Elena breathed. My real name is Holloway. Your mother never changed it. Even when she ran away, even when she fell into addiction, she kept the family name. And when she had you, she gave you that name too. Elena flipped through more documents. Marriage records for Margaret and Thomas Holloway, 1958. Property deeds for Holloway House dating back to 1895. Photographs of generations of Holloways, all women with the same dark hair and determined eyes. Then she found the newspaper clippings. Hartwell Industries acquires downtown property. 1962. Holloway family disputes development plans. 1963. Thomas Holloway dies in suspicious accident. 1964. Elena's hands were shaking. What is this? What happened? Lily sat back down. Mrs. Margaret told me the story. It took her years to piece it together. The Holloways and the Hartwells have been enemies for 3 generations. Enemies over what? Land, power, control. Lily pointed to one of the newspaper clippings. In 1962, the Hartwells wanted to develop property in downtown Boston. The only thing standing in their way was a building owned by your family. Thomas Holloway refused to sell. Elena read the clipping. Local business owner resists development pressure. Thomas Holloway, owner of Holloway Architecture Firm, vowed today to never sell his family's property to Hartwell Industries. 2 years later, Thomas was dead. A car accident. The police ruled it an accident, but Mrs. Margaret never believed it. Elena felt sick. You're saying the Hartwells killed my grandfather? I'm saying Mrs. Margaret believed they did. She could never prove it. But after Thomas died, the Hartwells bought the property from his grieving widow for a fraction of its value. Elena turned to the next clipping. Hartwell Industries expands downtown holdings, 1965. That's when it started, Lily continued. The feud. Mrs. Margaret fought them for years. Legal battles, public campaigns, everything she could think of. She made herself a thorn in their side. And they fought back. They destroyed her, one piece at a time. Her business failed. Her reputation was ruined. Her daughter Catherine grew up in the shadow of her mother's obsession and eventually ran away to escape it. Elena thought of her mother, the photographs she had seen, the wild hair and defiant eyes. My mother was running from this, from the feud. She was running from everything, the pressure, the expectations, the weight of 3 generations of hatred. She wanted a normal life. She wanted to forget she was a Holloway. But she didn't forget. She gave me the name. No, she didn't forget. And Mrs. Margaret never gave up trying to find you both. When your mother died, when you disappeared into the foster system, Mrs. Margaret spent everything she had trying to track you down. Elena closed the folder. Her mind was reeling. This still doesn't explain Marcus. Why would he marry me? He didn't even know my real name. Lily's expression darkened. Are you sure about that? What do you mean? Mrs. Margaret did some digging before she died. She found things. Disturbing things. Lily pulled another document from her pocket. She found this. It was a private investigator's report dated 6 years ago. Elena's photograph was attached to the front page. Subject, Elena Mitchell, age 26, former foster child. Currently employed as interior designer at Davidson & Associates. No known family connections. No significant assets. Elena read further. The report detailed her entire life. Her childhood in the foster system. Her struggles in school. Her first job. Her apartment. Her daily routine. At the bottom of the report was a handwritten note. Subject confirmed as Elena Catherine Holloway, granddaughter of Margaret Holloway. Recommend approach as outlined in Phase 2. The note was signed with initials. VH. Victoria Hartwell. Elena dropped the paper like it had burned her. They knew. They knew who I was before Marcus ever met me. Before he ever saw you. Before your first date. Before everything. Lily's voice was hard. You weren't a coincidence, Elena. You were a target. Elena thought back to how she and Marcus had met. A charity gala she had helped design. He had approached her charming and attentive. He had pursued her relentlessly for months. She had thought it was romantic. It was calculated. But why? Why would they want me? I had nothing. I was nobody. You were the last Holloway. The only heir to this house, this land, everything Mrs. Margaret owned. And more importantly, you were the only one who could continue the family line. Elena's hand moved instinctively to her belly. The baby. They wanted the baby. A Holloway baby. The next generation. If they could control that child, raise that child as a Hartwell, they would finally win. 3 generations of fighting, and they would have absorbed the enemy completely. Elena felt like she was going to be sick. I was a broodmare to them. That's all I ever was. I'm sorry, Elena. I wish I didn't have to tell you this. Elena stood so abruptly her chair toppled backward. No. No, this can't be right. Marcus loved me. In the beginning, he loved me. I saw it in his eyes. Maybe he did. Maybe he convinced himself he did. But Victoria Hartwell doesn't care about love. She cares about winning. And she's been planning this for years. Elena paced the kitchen, her mind racing. The divorce. The custody threats. They're not really about Marcus and Sophia. They're about controlling the baby. They probably never intended for you to raise the child at all. The marriage was just a way to legitimize everything. Once the baby was born, once they had what they wanted, they would have gotten rid of me, just like they got rid of my grandfather. Lily didn't deny it. Elena stopped pacing. Something new was rising inside her, something hot and fierce and dangerous. They're not going to win. I won't let them. Elena, they have resources you can't imagine. Lawyers, politicians, judges in their pocket. You can't fight them head on. Then I'll fight them another way. Elena picked up the folder of documents. My grandmother spent her whole life gathering evidence against them. You said there's a locked room somewhere in this house, a room full of secrets. Mrs. Margaret's study. She kept everything there. I've never been able to get in. Then we need to find a way. Elena headed for the door, but Lily caught her arm. Elena, wait. You need to be careful. Mrs. Margaret tried to expose them for decades. She failed every time. They're too powerful. My grandmother didn't have what I have. What's that? Elena looked down at her belly at the child growing inside her. A reason to win. Whatever it takes, however long it takes. I'm going to find out every secret the Hartwells have ever hidden, and then I'm going to burn them down. The determination in her voice surprised even herself. She had come to this house looking for safety, but she was starting to realize she might have found something even more valuable, a war worth fighting. The search for Margaret's study took them most of the morning. Holloway House was a maze. 3 floors, dozens of rooms, corridors that seemed to lead nowhere, doors that opened onto walls. Elena's grandmother had designed it to confuse, to hide, to protect. Mrs. Margaret used to say the house reveals what it wants to reveal, Lily said as they examined yet another dead end. She said it has a mind of its own. Houses don't have minds. This one does. I've seen things, Elena. Doors that lock and unlock on their own. Lights that flicker when there's danger. Rooms that weren't there yesterday and are there today. Elena wanted to argue, but she remembered the envelope that had appeared in her suitcase. The fire that was already burning when she arrived. The clock that chimed at impossible hours. Let's keep looking. They searched the 2nd floor, then the 3rd. They checked behind paintings, inside closets, under rugs. Nothing. It was nearly noon when Elena felt it. A draft of warm air coming from somewhere below. Wait. She stopped in the middle of a corridor. Do you feel that? Lily closed her eyes. Warmth, coming from downstairs. They followed the warmth like a trail of breadcrumbs down the main staircase, through the entrance hall past the kitchen. It led them to a section of wall in the library that looked exactly like every other section of wall. Elena pressed her hand against the panels. Warmth, definite warmth, radiating from behind the wood. There's something here. I've checked this wall 100 times. There's no door. Elena ran her fingers along the edges of the panels, searching for a hidden catch, a secret mechanism. Nothing. Then her daughter kicked, hard. Elena gasped and pressed her hand to her belly. What is it, baby? What are you trying to tell me? Another kick, stronger this time, directed downward toward her left hip. Elena looked down. Her hip was pressed against a small decorative rosette carved into the wainscoting, the same design that appeared throughout the house. Without thinking, she pressed it. A click. A groan of ancient mechanisms. The wall swung inward. Oh my God, Lily breathed. I pressed every rosette in this house. That one never worked before. Maybe it was waiting for the right person. Elena stepped through the hidden door into her grandmother's study. The room was small, but packed with decades of obsessive research. File cabinets lined every wall. Corkboards covered with photographs, newspaper clippings, handwritten notes connected by strings of colored thread. A desk buried under stacks of documents. And on the far wall, a massive family tree. Holloways on one side, Hartwells on the other. 3 generations of births, deaths, marriages, and mysteries. Elena walked toward it, slowly tracing the lines with her finger. There was her grandmother, Margaret Holloway. There was her mother, Catherine Holloway. And there at the bottom was a name with a question mark beside it. Elena Catherine Holloway. Last known, 1995. She never stopped looking for me, Elena whispered. Never. Not until the day she died. Elena turned to the opposite side of the family tree. The Hartwells. George Hartwell Sr., the founder. His son George Jr., his son Marcus. Lines connecting them to businesses, properties, political connections. And beneath Marcus's name, 2 lines extending downward. One connected to Sophia Bennett, baby expected. The other connected to Elena Mitchell Hartwell, baby expected. Elena stared at the chart. She knew. Before she died, my grandmother knew that Marcus had gotten another woman pregnant. She knew a lot of things. She had people watching the Hartwells constantly. Elena began opening file cabinets, pulling out folders at random. Financial records showing payments to politicians. Evidence of bribery. Evidence of fraud. Photographs of Victoria Hartwell meeting with known criminals. Police reports that had been buried. Court cases that had been dismissed. And in the bottom drawer, a thick folder labeled Thomas Holloway Murder Investigation. Elena opened it with trembling hands. Inside were police reports, witness statements, photographs of the accident scene. Her grandmother had gathered everything, compiling evidence that the official investigation had missed or ignored. Thomas Holloway's brake lines had been cut. 3 witnesses had seen a man tampering with his car the night before the accident. 2 of those witnesses had died within a year. The third had recanted her statement after her daughter received threats. At the bottom of the folder was a name. The man seen tampering with the car had been identified by one witness before she died. Robert Chen, employee of Hartwell Industries, Security Division. And attached to the name was a photograph. Elena stared at the face. Something about it was familiar. Then she realized why. She had seen this man before. He was older now, grayer, but the face was the same. The security guard who had watched her pack. The one who had made her open her suitcases on the driveway. The same man who had helped murder her grandfather 60 years ago was still working for the Hartwells. Elena's hands were shaking. They killed him. They actually killed him. And they've been covering it up for 60 years. Mrs. Margaret spent half her life trying to prove it. But the witnesses were gone, the evidence was buried, and the Hartwells had the police and the prosecutors in their pocket. But she found all of this. She documented everything. Evidence is useless if no one will listen. Every journalist she approached was bought off or threatened. Every lawyer backed down. Every judge dismissed the case. Elena looked around the room. Decades of research. Mountains of evidence. Her grandmother's entire life dedicated to exposing the truth. And it had all been for nothing. "No," Elena said quietly. "Not nothing. She left it for me." "What are you going to do with it?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to figure it out." Elena spent the rest of the afternoon reading through her grandmother's files. The deeper she went, the worse it got. The Hartwells weren't just corrupt, they were criminal. Money laundering, fraud, bribery, intimidation, and at least 3 suspicious deaths over the decades, all connected to people who had crossed them. Thomas Holloway was just the beginning. By evening, Elena's head was pounding, and her back ached from sitting too long. But she couldn't stop. "Elena." Lily appeared in the doorway. "You need to eat and rest. This can wait until tomorrow." "It can't wait. Every day I'm here is a day they're looking for me. A day they're planning their next move. And you need to be strong when they find you. Starving yourself won't help." Elena reluctantly allowed herself to be led to the kitchen, where Lily had prepared a simple dinner. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" Elena asked between bites. "Foster homes. You learn to feed yourself or you don't eat." Lily shrugged. "Mrs. Margaret taught me some things too. She said cooking was an act of love." Elena looked at the girl across from her. 17 years old, alone in the world, waiting 3 years in an empty house because a dying woman asked her to. "Lily, what are you going to do after all this? After I'm settled? You can't just stay here forever." "Why not? I don't have anywhere else to go." "You should go to school, have a life, be a normal teenager." Lily's laugh was bitter. "I was never a normal teenager. Normal teenagers have parents. Normal teenagers don't sleep in abandoned buildings or steal food to survive." "I know. Believe me, I know." Elena reached across the table and took Lily's hand. "But that's why you deserve better. We both do." Lily looked away, but not before Elena saw the tears in her eyes. "Mrs. Margaret used to say that. She used to say I deserved a real family." She was right. She wanted to adopt me, officially, but she got sick before the paperwork went through, and after she died there was no one left. Elena squeezed her hand tighter. "There's someone now." Lily looked up surprised. "I'm not saying I can be your mother. I'm barely going to figure out how to be a mother to my own child. But I'm saying you're not alone anymore. Neither of us is." For a long moment, Lily didn't respond. Then slowly, she squeezed Elena's hand back. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." They finished dinner in comfortable silence. It was nearly midnight when Elena finally went to bed, exhausted but unable to sleep. She lay in the darkness, one hand on her belly, thinking about everything she had learned. Her entire life had been a lie. Her marriage, her identity, her sense of self. She had believed she was nobody. A foster kid with no family, no history, no place in the world. But she was a Holloway. The last of a line that stretched back generations. The heir to a house that protected its own. And she was carrying a child that 2 powerful families were willing to fight over. "I won't let them have you," she whispered to her daughter. "Whatever I have to do, whatever it costs, you're mine. You'll always be mine." The baby kicked in response. Elena finally drifted off to sleep, her dreams filled with shadows and secrets. She woke to Lily's scream. Elena was out of bed before she was fully conscious, stumbling toward the sound. "Lily! Lily, where are you?" "Downstairs? Come quick!" Elena ran down the stairs, her pregnant body awkward and slow. She found Lily in the entrance hall staring out the window. "What is it? What's wrong?" Lily pointed. Through the frost-covered glass, Elena could see lights in the distance, multiple lights moving through the trees. Someone's coming. Elena's blood turned to ice. How? How did they find me? I don't know. Maybe they tracked your car. Maybe they found the property records. It doesn't matter. They're here. The lights were getting closer. Elena could make out shapes now. Vehicles. Multiple vehicles struggling through the snow. How long do we have? 20 minutes, maybe less. Elena's mind raced through options. Run. She had no car, no supplies, no way to survive in the wilderness. Hide. The house was huge, but if the Hartwells brought enough people, they would search every room. Fight with what against how many? The study, she said suddenly. Help me get everything from the study. What? There's no time. If they find my grandmother's research, they'll destroy it. It's the only leverage we have. Help me. They ran to the study, grabbing files and folders and documents, shoving them into boxes and bags. There was too much. They couldn't possibly take it all. Leave the duplicates, Elena ordered. Take the originals, the photographs, the witness statements, anything that can't be replaced. They worked frantically, the lights outside growing brighter closer. We need to hide these, Lily said. Somewhere they won't look. Elena thought of the house, the secret passages, the hidden rooms. The nursery, the one my grandmother prepared. Is there a way to hide things there? There's a compartment under the floorboards. Mrs. Margaret showed me once. Take everything there, hide it, then hide yourself. What about you? I'll face them. I'll distract them while you secure the evidence. Elena, no, they'll take you. Maybe, maybe not. But if they get these documents, we lose everything. Elena grabbed Lily's shoulders. Listen to me. If something happens to me, you take this evidence and you run. You find a journalist, a lawyer, someone who can't be bought. You make sure the world knows what the Hartwells have done. I can't leave you. You can. You will. Mrs. Margaret waited 3 years for me. You can wait for justice. Promise me. Lily's eyes were bright with tears. I promise. Go. Now. Lily grabbed the boxes and disappeared into the shadows of the house. Elena walked slowly to the front door. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was pounding. Her daughter kicked and kicked, sensing her mother's fear. It's okay, baby, Elena whispered. Whatever happens, it's going to be okay. She opened the door. The vehicles had reached the clearing. 3 black SUVs, their headlights cutting through the darkness. Doors opened. Figures emerged. Elena recognized the first one immediately. Victoria Hartwell stepped into the light, her silver hair immaculate, her smile triumphant. Hello, Elena. Did you really think you could hide from us? Elena stood on the porch of Holloway House, her grandmother's house, her house. She was terrified. But she was done running. No. She said, her voice steady, despite the fear. I wasn't hiding. I was waiting. Victoria's smile faltered. Waiting for what? Elena looked at the mansion behind her. At the windows that seemed to glow with their own inner light. At the door that stood open like a challenge. For you to make the biggest mistake of your lives. And somewhere deep in the house, the clock began to chime again. Victoria Hartwell stopped at the bottom of the porch steps, her expensive boots sinking into the snow. Behind her, 4 men in dark suits waited by the vehicles, their breath forming clouds in the frozen air. You look terrible, Elena. This place clearly hasn't been good for you. I look like a woman who's done being afraid of you. Victoria laughed, but there was no humor in it. Brave words from someone with nothing. No money, no lawyer, no way out. I have this house. My grandmother left it to me. You can't touch it. Your grandmother. Victoria's lip curled with contempt. Margaret Holloway was a crazy old woman who spent her entire life chasing conspiracies. She died alone and forgotten, just like you will. She died knowing the truth about your family, about what you did to her husband. Something flickered in Victoria's eyes. Fear recognition. It was gone before Elena could identify it. I don't know what you're talking about. Thomas Holloway, 1964. Brake lines cut. 3 witnesses silenced. Elena took a step forward. Robert Chen, your father's security specialist. The same man who was at my house 2 days ago watching me pack. Victoria's composure cracked just for a moment. You don't know what you're playing with, Elena. I know exactly what I'm playing with. 3 generations of murder and corruption. Evidence that my grandmother spent 60 years collecting. Evidence that no one will ever see. Are you sure about that? Victoria gestured to the men behind her. Search the house. Find whatever documents she's talking about and destroy them. 2 of the men started toward the porch. Elena didn't move. I wouldn't do that if I were you. And why not? Because I'm not stupid enough to keep evidence in an obvious place. It's already gone. Hidden somewhere you'll never find it. And if anything happens to me, copies go to every major news outlet in the country. Victoria's eyes narrowed. You're bluffing. Am I? Want to test that theory? Elena placed her hand on her belly. Want to explain to the world why your son's pregnant ex-wife disappeared after accusing your family of decades of crimes? The men stopped looking to Victoria for guidance. For the first time, Elena saw uncertainty in her mother-in-law's face. What do you want, Elena? I want you to leave. I want you to drop the custody case. I want you to forget I exist. That's not going to happen. That child belongs to Marcus. That child belongs to me. Her father signed away any claim when he threw us away like garbage. The courts will decide that. The courts you've bought the judges in your pocket. Elena shook her head. I don't think so. Not this time. Victoria climbed the first step. You're making a mistake. A very serious mistake. We came here to talk, to find a reasonable solution. But if you want war, Elena, I can give you war. Your family has been at war with mine for 60 years. I'm just the first one fighting back. Fighting back. Victoria's laugh was cold. With what? You're a pregnant woman alone in a crumbling mansion in the middle of nowhere. You have no resources, no allies, no power. What exactly do you think you can do against us? Elena opened her mouth to respond, but the words never came. Because at that moment, a sharp pain ripped through her abdomen. She gasped, grabbing the porch railing for support. Elena! Lily's voice came from somewhere inside the house. I'm fine. Elena managed, but she wasn't fine. Another contraction hit stronger than the first. Victoria's expression changed. She climbed the steps, quickly reaching for Elena. The baby. It's coming. Don't touch me. Don't be stupid. You need medical attention. I don't need anything from you. But the contractions were intensifying. Elena's knees buckled. She would have fallen if Victoria hadn't caught her. Get the car, Victoria ordered one of her men. We're taking her to the hospital. No. Elena pushed away from her, stumbling against the doorframe. I'm not going anywhere with you. You're in labor, Elena. Your water just broke. This baby is coming whether you want it to or not. Elena looked down. Victoria was right. The wetness spreading down her legs wasn't snow. Lily! She screamed. Lily appeared in the doorway, her face white with fear. What's happening? Is it the baby? Help me inside, now. She needs a hospital, Victoria insisted. She needs you to leave. Lily positioned herself between Elena and Victoria, small but fierce. Get off this property. Who the hell are you? I'm family. Something you wouldn't understand. Victoria's men were approaching the porch now, uncertain, but ready for orders. Take them both, Victoria said. We're leaving. No. Lily pulled something from her jacket. A flare gun, old and rusted, but unmistakably dangerous. You take one more step and I start a fire that'll be visible for 50 miles. Every emergency service in the county will be here within the hour. You wouldn't dare. Try me. The standoff held for 3 agonizing seconds. Then another contraction hit Elena, and she screamed. We don't have time for this, Victoria snapped. Fine, have the baby here. Die here for all I care. But when that child is born, we'll be back. And no flare gun or crazy teenager is going to stop us. She turned and marched back to the SUVs, her men following reluctantly. The vehicles started headlights cutting through the darkness. Within minutes they were gone. Elena collapsed against Lily, her body racked with pain. I need to get you inside, Lily said. Can you walk? I don't know. I don't think so. Then I'll carry you. Lily, you can't. I'm too heavy. Watch me. The girl was stronger than she looked. She half-carried, half-dragged Elena through the entrance hall, up the stairs into the bedroom, where a fire still burned in the hearth. The nursery, Elena gasped between contractions. We prepared the nursery. The bedroom is closer and warmer. Lily helped Elena onto the bed. I need to get the supplies. Don't move. I'm not going anywhere. Lily disappeared, returning moments later with armfuls of medical equipment from the basement. The same equipment Margaret Holloway had stockpiled decades ago, as if she had known this moment would come. How far apart are the contractions? Lily asked, her voice steady despite her obvious fear. I don't know. 2 minutes, maybe less. That's fast. Too fast. Lily consulted one of the midwifery books she had studied. First babies usually take longer. Something might be wrong. Nothing's wrong. She's just ready. Elena grabbed Lily's hand. We can do this. You can do this. Mrs. Margaret trained you. She trained me to deliver normal babies, not emergency births in the middle of a blizzard. It's not a blizzard anymore. Elena, I'm 18 years old. I've never delivered a baby in my life. Then it's time to learn. Another contraction hit. Elena screamed, her back arching off the bed. I can see the head, Lily said, her voice rising with panic. Oh God, I can see the head. That's good. That's supposed to happen. It's happening too fast. You're bleeding too much. Fear cut through Elena's pain. How much? I don't know. More than the book says is normal. Lily was pressing towels against her, trying to slow the bleeding. Elena, I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. Listen to me. Elena grabbed Lily's face, forcing the girl to meet her eyes. My grandmother chose you. She trained you. She trusted you. And so do I. You're going to deliver this baby, and we're both going to be fine. What if we're not? Then you save the baby first. Promise me. Elena, no. Promise me, Lily. If something goes wrong, you save my daughter. You raise her. You tell her about me, about her grandmother, about all of it. Promise me. Tears streamed down Lily's face. I promise. Good. Now let's bring this baby into the world. The next 30 minutes were the longest of Elena's life. She pushed until she had nothing left, then pushed some more. The pain was beyond anything she had ever experienced, a fire that consumed her entire body. Lily talked her through it, her voice growing more confident as the minutes passed. I can see her shoulders now. One more push, Elena. Just one more. Elena screamed and pushed with everything she had. And then suddenly, wonderfully, impossibly, there was another cry in the room. She's here, Lily sobbed. Elena, she's here. She's perfect. Lily placed the baby on Elena's chest. She was small and wrinkled and covered in blood, and she was the most beautiful thing Elena had ever seen. Hi, baby, Elena whispered. Hi, Hope. I'm your mama. The baby stopped crying. Her eyes, still unfocused, seemed to search for Elena's face. Hope, Lily asked. Hope Margaret Holloway. That's her name. Not Hartwell. Never Hartwell. She's a Holloway. Like me. Like my mother. Like my grandmother. Lily tied off the umbilical cord with hands that had stopped shaking. She cleaned the baby, gently wrapped her in soft blankets from the chest Margaret had prepared. The bleeding is slowing down, she reported. I think you're going to be okay. I know I am. Elena couldn't take her eyes off her daughter. We both are. They lay together as the fire crackled and the night deepened. Elena, exhausted beyond words, drifted in and out of consciousness. Each time she woke, she checked for hope first, making sure the baby was still there, still breathing, still safe. Around 4 in the morning, Lily finally spoke. "Elena, are you awake?" "Barely." "Victoria will come back. You know that, right? She's not going to give up." "I know." "What are we going to do?" Elena looked at her daughter, at this tiny person who had fought so hard to be born. "We're going to fight, like Holloways have always fought. We don't have weapons. We barely have food. We have something better. We have the truth. And we have each other." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she climbed onto the bed, careful not to disturb the baby, and curled up beside Elena. "Mrs. Margaret was right about you," she said softly. "Right about what?" "She said you were strong. Stronger than you knew. She said when you finally came home, you'd change everything." "I don't feel strong. I feel terrified." "That's how you know you're doing something important. Mrs. Margaret said that too." Elena smiled despite her exhaustion. "My grandmother sounds like she was very wise." "She was the wisest person I ever met." Lily paused. "Until now." They slept. When Elena woke again, sunlight was streaming through the windows. Hope was nursing at her breast, tiny and perfect and absolutely ravenous. Lily was gone from the bed, but Elena could hear her moving around downstairs. For one peaceful moment, everything was perfect. Then she heard the sound of vehicles approaching. "Lily," Elena called. The girl appeared in the doorway immediately. "I know. I heard them. It's more than yesterday. At least 6 cars. Help me up." "Elena, you just gave birth. You can't." "Help me up. I'm not letting them find me on my back." Lily helped Elena to her feet. Her legs were shaky, her body screaming with pain, but she forced herself to stand. "Bring hope, and stay close to me." They descended the stairs slowly, Elena leaning heavily on the railing. By the time they reached the entrance hall, they could hear car doors slamming, voices shouting. Elena opened the front door. The scene that greeted her was worse than she had feared. 6 vehicles, a dozen men in suits. Several people who looked like lawyers clutching folders and briefcases. And in front of them, all Victoria Hartwell. And Marcus. Elena's breath caught when she saw her ex-husband. He looked different than she remembered. Tired. Uncertain. Nothing like the confident businessman who had thrown her away just weeks ago. "Elena." His voice cracked on her name. "Don't talk to me. Please, I need to explain." "There's nothing to explain. You made your choice. Now live with it." Victoria stepped forward. "Enough drama. We're here with a court order. Emergency custody of the infant pending a formal hearing." "On what grounds?" "Unfit mother. Unstable living conditions. Danger to the child." "My daughter was born healthy 12 hours ago. I'd say I'm doing fine." "You gave birth without medical supervision in an abandoned house in the middle of nowhere. That's textbook endangerment." "I gave birth with a trained attendant in my family home. That's called a home birth. Millions of women do it every year." Victoria's smile was razor sharp. The judge didn't see it that way. One of the lawyers stepped forward, offering Elena a document. "Ma'am, this is an emergency custody order signed by Judge Hammond of the Suffolk County Family Court. You are required to surrender the infant immediately. Failure to comply will result in criminal charges." Elena didn't take the paper. Judge Hammond. Would that be the same Judge Hammond who received $100,000 from Hartwell Industries last year? The one whose daughter works for your company? The lawyer's face reddened. "I don't know what you're implying." "I'm implying that this order isn't worth the paper it's printed on. And when I'm done exposing your family's corruption, every judge you've ever bought will be lucky to find work as a crossing guard." Victoria's composure finally cracked. You ungrateful little bitch. We gave you everything. A home, a husband, a life you could never have earned on your own. And this is how you repay us. You gave me nothing but lies. Your son married me because you ordered him to. Because you wanted to control the last Holloway heir. Because you've been trying to destroy my family for 60 years, and I was your final solution. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus's face had gone white. Mother. What is she talking about? Nothing. She's delusional. Am I? Ask her about Thomas Holloway. Marcus, ask her about your grandfather's business partner who died in a car accident in 1964. Ask her about the witnesses who were silenced. Mother. She's lying. She's trying to manipulate you. Am I lying about Robert Chen? The man who cut my grandfather's brake lines. The man who was at my house last week making sure I didn't take anything you didn't approve of. Marcus turned to his mother. Robert Chen has worked for our family since before I was born. He was at her house, security precaution, nothing more. He was there to intimidate me, Elena said, to make sure I knew I was being watched, just like he intimidated my grandmother for 50 years. This is insane, Victoria spat. You have no proof of any of this. I have 60 years of proof. Photographs, documents, witness statements. Everything my grandmother collected before your people could destroy it. Give us those documents, Victoria demanded, and we might consider letting you keep limited custody rights. Never. Then we'll tear this house apart until we find them. Go ahead. Search every room. You won't find them here. Victoria gestured to her men. Search the house. All of it. The men started toward the porch. Elena didn't move. Before you do that, there's something you should know. At this moment, a copy of everything in my grandmother's files is sitting in a safe deposit box in Manhattan. If I don't call a specific number every 24 hours, those files are automatically released to every major news organization in the country. Victoria froze. You're bluffing. I'm a woman who just gave birth alone in a snowstorm after being abandoned by her husband and threatened by her mother-in-law. Do you really think I'm bluffing? The standoff stretched for an agonizing moment. Then Marcus spoke. Enough. Everyone turned to look at him. I said enough. He stepped forward, positioning himself between Elena and his mother. This is insane. We're threatening a woman who just gave birth. Our lawyers are waving court orders like weapons. We have a dozen men ready to invade someone's home. Marcus, don't be weak. This isn't weakness. This is sanity. He turned to Elena, and she saw something she hadn't expected. Shame. Elena, I don't know what's true and what isn't. But I know that what we're doing right now is wrong. I should have known it was wrong a long time ago. Marcus, don't you dare. Be quiet, mother. His voice was harder than Elena had ever heard it. I need to say this. He took a breath. I didn't know about any conspiracy. I didn't know about your family or any feud. But I knew my mother controlled everything, including who I married. I knew she pushed me toward you specifically. I told myself it was coincidence that I really did fall in love with you on my own. But I think part of me always wondered. And Sophia. Marcus's face crumpled. Sophia was my rebellion, my way of proving I could make my own choices. But that was wrong too. Everything about how I handled this was wrong. You threw me away, Marcus. 7 months pregnant. You told me I wasn't enough. I know. And I'll never forgive myself for that. I'm not asking you to forgive yourself. I'm asking you to leave. I can't do that. Not until I know my daughter is safe. Your daughter is safe. She's with me, where she belongs. Marcus looked at the baby in Lily's arms. Something softened in his expression. Can I see her? Just for a moment? Elena hesitated. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse to protect Hope from any Hartwell connection. But Marcus wasn't Victoria. And like it or not, he was Hope's father. 1 minute, she said finally. Then you leave. Lily stepped forward, allowing Marcus to look at his daughter. He didn't touch her. He just looked. She's beautiful. he whispered. She looks like you. She's a Holloway. I know. And maybe that's better. Maybe she deserves better than to be part of this family. Marcus! Victoria's voice was sharp with warning. He ignored her. Elena, I'm not going to fight you for custody. I'll sign whatever papers you need. Full custody, sole decision-making, everything. Marcus, don't be a fool. I said be quiet, Mother. He finally looked at Victoria, and his expression was cold. When we get home, you and I are going to have a very long conversation about our family's history, about Thomas Holloway, about whatever else you've been hiding. You ungrateful boy. Everything I've done has been for this family. Maybe. But I think this family has done enough harm. It's time to stop. Victoria's face contorted with rage. For a moment, Elena thought she might strike her own son. Then she composed herself. Fine. If you want to throw away everything I've built, that's your choice. But don't expect me to be there to pick up the pieces. She turned and marched back to her vehicle, her lawyers and security men following uncertainly. Marcus watched her go. She won't forgive me for this, he said quietly. I don't care about her forgiveness. I know, you shouldn't. He turned back to Elena. I'm going to make this right. I don't know how yet, but I'm going to try. Start by being honest, with yourself, with the courts, with everyone. I will. He took one last look at Hope. Take care of her, Elena. Take care of both of them. I will. Marcus walked back to his car. Elena watched him go, not sure what she was feeling. Relief, anger. Something else entirely. Lily stepped up beside her. Did that really just happen? I think so. Victoria is going to destroy him. Probably. And then she'll come after us. Definitely. So, what do we do now? Elena looked at the house behind her. At the mansion her grandmother had left her. At the legacy of strength and survival that had brought her to this moment. Now we rebuild, she said. This house, this family, everything. How? Elena smiled for the first time in what felt like forever. One day at a time. Together. Hope began to cry hungry again, demanding attention. Elena took her daughter from Lily's arms and walked back into Holloway House. The door closed behind them. And somewhere deep in the mansion, the clock chimed once. Just once. As if the house itself was welcoming them home. 3 days after Hope's birth, Elena stood in the entrance hall of Holloway House and made a decision. We're going to fix this place, she announced. Lily looked up from where she was feeding Hope. Fix it, Elena. We don't have any money. We have something better. We have determination, and we have skills. Skills don't replace broken windows and leaking roofs. No, but they're a start. Elena had spent the past 3 days recovering from childbirth and planning. She had walked through every room of the mansion, cataloging what needed repair, what could wait, and what might be salvageable. The list was overwhelming, but she refused to be overwhelmed. My grandmother kept this place maintained for decades on her own, Elena said. She stockpiled supplies, tools, everything we might need. She believed in this house. She believed in me. I'm not going to let her down. Elena, you can barely walk. You just had a baby. I know my limits, but I also know what's possible. She picked up a hammer from the toolbox Lily had found in the basement. We start small, one repair at a time, one room at a time, until this place is a home again. Lily sighed. You're going to do this no matter what I say, aren't you? Yes. Then I guess I'm helping. The first week was brutal. Elena pushed herself too hard and paid the price. Twice she collapsed from exhaustion, forcing Lily to put her to bed like a stubborn child. Her body screamed at her to rest, to heal, to slow down. She ignored it. Hope needed a safe home. Lily deserved stability. The legacy her grandmother had left demanded to be honored. Rest could wait. They started with the basics. sealing drafts around windows, patching holes in walls, clearing debris from rooms that had been neglected for years. Lily proved to be surprisingly skilled. Her years in the foster system and on the streets had taught her how to improvise, how to make do with limited resources. "Where did you learn to do that?" Elena asked, watching Lily expertly repair a broken cabinet hinge. "Group home in Providence. The maintenance guy taught me. Said girls should know how to fix things themselves, not wait for someone else to do it." "Smart man." "He was the only adult who ever taught me anything useful." Lily's voice hardened. "The rest just wanted us gone. Out of their hair. Off their books. I know that feeling. Feeling like a burden instead of a person." Lily looked at her. "Is that how Marcus made you feel?" "No. Marcus made me feel loved. That's what made the betrayal so devastating. Victoria always treated me like dirt she was trying to scrape off her shoe. But Marcus—" Elena paused, choosing her words carefully. "Marcus made me believe I mattered, that I belonged, and then he threw it all away." "Do you think he meant what he said when he turned against his mother?" "I don't know. I want to believe he did, but I've been fooled by Hartwells before." 2 weeks after Hope's birth, a truck appeared on the private road. Elena grabbed the flare gun Lily had used before and positioned herself on the porch, her heart pounding. But it wasn't Victoria's people. A man climbed out of the truck, middle-aged, weathered face, kind eyes. He raised his hands immediately when he saw the weapon. "Whoa there! I come in peace. Who are you?" "Name's Daniel Morrison. I was a friend of Margaret Holloway's." Elena didn't lower the flare gun. "Prove it." "She hired me 30 years ago to help maintain this place. I've been checking on it every few months since she passed, making sure it doesn't fall apart completely." "Then why didn't you come when we arrived?" "I was out of state. Family emergency. Just got back yesterday and heard through the grapevine that someone was living here again." He nodded toward the mansion. "Margaret always said her granddaughter would come home someday. I'm guessing that's you." "How do I know you're not working for the Hartwells?" Daniel's expression darkened. "Because I hate those people almost as much as Margaret did. My father worked for Thomas Holloway. After Thomas died, the Hartwells blacklisted our family from every job in the county. We nearly lost everything." Elena studied him for a long moment. "If you're lying to me—" "I'm not. I swear on Margaret's memory." He reached into his truck and pulled out a photograph. "She gave me this. Said to show it to you if you ever came back." Elena took the photograph carefully. It showed a young Margaret Holloway standing with a group of workers in front of Holloway House. Among them was a young man with the same kind eyes as Daniel. "That's my father," Daniel said. "And that's Margaret right before Thomas was killed. They were happy then, before the Hartwells destroyed everything." Elena finally lowered the flare gun. "Come inside, Daniel. I think we have a lot to talk about." Daniel Morrison became their first ally. He knew the house intimately, having helped maintain it for 3 decades. He knew which walls were load-bearing, which pipes were about to burst, which systems were salvageable, and which needed complete replacement. More importantly, he knew people. "I have a nephew who does electrical work," he said over coffee in the kitchen, "and a cousin who's a plumber. Neither of them will take Hartwell money if you ask them not to." "I can't pay them," Elena admitted. "Not yet." "You won't have to. Not in cash, anyway." Daniel smiled. "Margaret helped a lot of families in this area over the years. Quiet help, the kind that doesn't make the newspapers. People remember that. They'll be happy to return the favor." "Why would they help me? They don't even know me." "They know Margaret, and Margaret's granddaughter is family around here." Within a week, workers began arriving. Not many at first. Daniel's nephew Jake, a lanky young man who could trace electrical problems by instinct. His cousin Maria, a no-nonsense woman who attacked the plumbing with military precision. A retired carpenter named George, who had played cards with Thomas Holloway in the 1960s and never forgave the Hartwells for his death. They worked for food, for friendship, for the memory of a woman who had helped them when no one else would. Elena watched them transform her grandmother's house and felt something she hadn't expected. Hope. Real hope. Not just the name she had given her daughter, but the emotion itself spreading through her like warmth after a long winter. "You're crying," Lily observed. "I know. Happy tears or sad tears? Both." Elena wiped her face. "I spent my whole life feeling alone, feeling like I didn't belong anywhere to anyone. And now? Now you have a family." Elena looked at the workers laughing together in the entrance hall, at Lily holding Hope by the window at the house that was slowly coming back to life. "Yes," she said. "I think I finally do." 1 month after Hope's birth, Marcus called. Elena stared at the phone number for 3 rings before answering. "What do you want?" "I need to see you. There's something you should know." "I don't have anything to say to you, Marcus." "Please, Elena, it's important. It's about my mother." The fear in his voice was unmistakable. "What about her?" "Not over the phone. Can I come to the house just to talk? I'll stay outside if you want. I won't come near Hope." Elena's instincts screamed at her to refuse, but there was something in Marcus's voice she had never heard before. Terror. "Tomorrow, noon. You come alone or you don't come at all. I'll be there. And Elena, be careful. Trust no one you don't absolutely have to." The line went dead. Elena spent the night preparing. She told Daniel and the workers about the visit. They positioned themselves throughout the property, ready to intervene if anything went wrong. Lily hid in the nursery with Hope the flare gun within reach. At exactly noon, Marcus's car appeared on the private road. He was alone as promised. He looked worse than Elena had ever seen him. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, clothes wrinkled like he had slept in them. He stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. "Thank you for seeing me." "Talk, quickly." "My mother is planning something big. I don't know all the details, but I know it involves this property." "She can't touch this property. It's in my name." "She's not trying to buy it. She's trying to destroy it." Elena felt her blood run cold. "What do you mean?" "There's a historical preservation ordinance that protects this land. It's been in place since the 1970s. My mother has been working with people in the county government to get it revoked." "On what grounds?" "Safety concerns, structural instability, environmental hazards." Marcus ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "Once the ordinance is gone, she can petition to have the property condemned, seized by eminent domain, and then she tears it down." "She's obsessed, Elena. More than I ever realized. This isn't just about custody or control anymore. She wants to erase every trace of the Holloway family from existence." "Why are you telling me this? Why betray your own mother?" Marcus looked at her with haunted eyes. "Because I finally saw the truth. After our confrontation here, I started digging. I found things, Elena. Terrible things. My grandfather didn't just compete with the Holloways. He had Thomas murdered. And my mother has been covering it up for 60 years. Elena felt dizzy. "You found proof." "I found documents in my mother's safe. Records of payments to Robert Chen. Photographs of witnesses who later disappeared. Everything Margaret Holloway suspected was true." "Where are these documents now?" "Hidden. Somewhere my mother can't find them." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a USB drive. "I made copies. For you. For your files." Elena didn't take it. "Why should I trust you? You've lied to me before." "I know. And I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to protect yourself. Protect our daughter." His voice cracked. "I've done terrible things, Elena. I let my mother control me for years. I hurt you in ways I can never make right. But Hope doesn't deserve to pay for my mistakes." He set the USB drive on the porch railing. "The county board meets in 2 weeks to vote on the preservation ordinance. If they revoke it, my mother will move fast. You need to be ready." "Ready how?" "Fight, the way your grandmother fought, but smarter, with evidence that can't be buried." He turned and walked back to his car. Marcus. He paused. If you're lying to me again, if this is some kind of trap. It's not. I swear on Hope's life. He opened his car door. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but maybe I can earn your trust. One day. He drove away without looking back. Elena picked up the USB drive and went inside. The documents on the drive were explosive. Payment records to Robert Chen spanning 3 decades. Correspondence between Victoria and various judges, politicians, and law enforcement officials. Photographs that proved Robert Chen had been present at Thomas Holloway's house the night before his fatal accident. And one thing Elena hadn't expected. A letter from George Hartwell Sr. to his son George Jr. dated 1965. The Holloway problem has been resolved. Thomas will no longer interfere with our plans. The remaining family members should be monitored indefinitely. We cannot allow another Holloway to rise against us. My God, Lily whispered, reading over Elena's shoulder. They've been hunting your family for 3 generations. And now I understand why. Elena pointed to another document. Look at this. A property survey from 1960. The survey showed that Holloway land extended far beyond the mansion itself. Thousands of acres of prime real estate, including land that now held Hartwell office buildings, shopping centers, and residential developments. They didn't just want my grandfather's downtown property, Elena realized. They wanted all of it, every acre, every resource. But Margaret kept this land. She held on to it. Exactly. And as long as a Holloway exists, their claim is never fully secure. Elena sat back, her mind racing. That's why Victoria was so determined to control my baby. A Hartwell-raised Holloway heir would give them legitimate claim to everything. But you ruined that plan. I ruined one plan. Now she has another. Elena spent the next several days preparing for battle. She contacted a lawyer. Daniel recommended a woman named Patricia Hayes, who had once represented workers cheated by Hartwell Industries. Patricia was retired now, but when she heard Elena's story, she came out of retirement immediately. I've been waiting 30 years for a chance to take down those people, Patricia said. Let me see what you've got. Elena showed her everything. Her grandmother's files, Marcus's documents, the evidence of 60 years of corruption. Patricia's eyes widened as she read. This is enough to bury them, if we can get it in front of the right people. The county board meets in 12 days. They're voting on the preservation ordinance. Then we need to move fast. Patricia began organizing documents. We'll need witnesses. People willing to testify about what the Hartwells have done. Most of them are dead, or too scared to talk. Then we find the ones who aren't. There's always someone who wants justice badly enough to take the risk. They found 3. The first was Dorothy Chen, Robert Chen's widow. Robert had died 2 years ago, and Dorothy had spent those years living in fear, waiting for Victoria Hartwell to come for her too. When Elena explained what she was doing, Dorothy broke down crying. He never wanted to hurt anyone, she sobbed. They forced him, threatened our children. He was trapped. But he kept records. Dorothy nodded. Insurance, he called it. In case they ever turned on him. I have everything hidden. Everything. The second witness was Judge Hammond's former clerk, a young man named Timothy, who had witnessed dozens of backroom deals between the judge and Hartwell lawyers. He had quit in disgust 3 years ago and had been waiting for someone to believe his story. They'll destroy me, Timothy said. If I testify, they'll destroy my career. They've already destroyed countless lives. Help me stop them. Timothy agreed. The third witness was the most surprising. Sophia Bennett, Marcus's mistress, the woman he had left Elena for, the woman who was carrying his other child. She showed up at Holloway House 6 days before the board meeting, visibly pregnant, visibly terrified. I made a mistake, she said before Elena could speak. A terrible mistake. I thought Marcus loved me. I thought Victoria accepted me. I was wrong about everything. Why are you here? Because Victoria told me what she's planning. Not just for you, for me too. Sophia's voice trembled. She never wanted Marcus to marry me. She wanted the baby. Once it's born, she's going to take it and throw me away just like she threw you away. Why should I believe you? Because I have proof. Sophia pulled out her phone. Recordings. Victoria talking about her plans, about how useful I was as a breeding vessel, about how she'd dispose of me once I'd served my purpose. Elena listened to the recordings. Victoria's voice was unmistakable, cold, clinical, terrifying. The Bennett girl is simple, easy to manipulate. Once the child is born, we'll arrange for her to have an accident. Something tragic, but believable. Marcus will be heartbroken, of course, but he'll recover. He always does. Elena stopped the recording. She's planning to kill you. I know. Sophia was crying now. I have nowhere to go. My family disowned me when they found out about Marcus. I have no money, no friends, no one who can help me. Why come to me? I have every reason to hate you. Because you're the only person who's ever stood up to them. Sophia grabbed Elena's hands. Please. I know I don't deserve your help, but my baby does. My baby didn't choose any of this. Elena looked at this woman who had helped destroy her marriage. This woman who had participated in Victoria's schemes, knowingly or not. This woman who was now as trapped and terrified as Elena had been. Stay here, Elena said finally. We'll figure out what to do. The night before the board meeting, Victoria made her move. Elena woke to Lily's screams. Fire, Elena! There's fire! Smoke was pouring under the bedroom door. Elena grabbed Hope and ran into the hallway, where flames were already climbing the walls. The back stairs! Lily shouted. Go! They ran through smoke and heat. Elena clutching Hope to her chest, Lily leading the way with a wet cloth over her face. Behind them, the house was burning. 60 years of evidence. 60 years of her grandmother's work, going up in flames. They burst through the back door and into the cold night air, coughing and gasping. Is everyone out? Elena shouted. Sophia, Daniel. Here. Sophia emerged from the groundskeeper's cottage where she had been sleeping. What happened? The Hartwells. Elena's voice was raw with smoke and fury. They burned us out. But as she watched the flames consume the east wing of Holloway House, Elena realized something. The fire had started in the east wing, not the west wing, not the library where her grandmother's study was hidden. The Hartwells didn't know about the secret room. They had targeted the wrong part of the house. Lily, the study. Is it? Lily's eyes widened with understanding. The west wing isn't burning. Not yet. Go. Get everything you can carry. I'll try to slow the fire. They worked frantically through the night. Lily and Daniel pulled documents from the secret study, while Elena and the workers fought the flames with garden hoses and buckets of snow. By dawn, half the mansion was destroyed. But the evidence had survived. Elena stood in the frozen garden, covered in soot and ash, watching smoke rise from the ruins of her grandmother's home. Hope cried in her arms. Lily sat on the ground exhausted, surrounded by boxes of rescued documents. Sophia hovered nearby, clearly in shock. And Daniel approached with his phone in his hand. I called everyone I know. The story is already spreading. A pregnant woman and her baby burned out of their home. People are angry, Elena, really angry. Good. What are you going to do? Elena looked at the burned mansion, at her daughter, at the evidence that had survived despite Victoria's best efforts. I'm going to that board meeting, and I'm going to show them exactly who the Hartwells really are. The county board meeting was standing room only. Word had spread about the fire. Word had spread about the pregnant women who had nearly died. Word had spread about the evidence Elena was prepared to present. Victoria Hartwell sat in the front row flanked by lawyers, her expression as cold as ever. Elena sat on the opposite side. Hope in her arms. Lily and Sophia beside her, Patricia Hayes, ready to present their case. The board chairman called the meeting to order. We're here to vote on the proposed revocation of Historical Preservation Ordinance 47B, which currently protects the Holloway property in the Northern District. Victoria's lawyer stood. Chairman, before we proceed, I'd like to enter into the record several expert reports documenting the structural instability and environmental hazards present on the Holloway property. These reports clearly demonstrate that the building poses a public safety risk and should be condemned. Patricia Hayes rose. Chairman, I'd like to enter into the record evidence that those reports were fabricated. I have testimony from one of the so-called experts admitting he was paid by Hartwell Industries to falsify his findings. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Furthermore, Patricia continued, I have evidence of a pattern of corruption involving the Hartwell family spanning 6 decades. Evidence of bribery, intimidation, and murder. Objection, Victoria's lawyer shouted. This is outrageous. These are baseless accusations. They're not baseless. Elena stood, hope still in her arms. They're documented. Every payment, every threat, every crime. My grandmother spent 60 years gathering this evidence, and last night, Victoria Hartwell tried to destroy it by burning down my home. The room erupted. The chairman banged his gavel. Order. Order. Victoria stood, her composure finally cracking. This is a conspiracy. That woman is unstable. She's making wild accusations without proof. Without proof. Elena pulled out a thick folder. Here's proof that your family paid Robert Chen to murder my grandfather in 1964. Here's proof that you've been bribing judges and politicians for decades. Here's proof that you threatened to kill Sophia Bennett once she gave birth to your grandchild. She turned to face the crowd. Victoria Hartwell doesn't want this land because it's valuable. She wants it because it represents everything her family couldn't control. She wants to erase the Holloway name from existence. But I'm still here. My daughter is still here, and we're not going anywhere. The vote was unanimous. The preservation ordinance stayed in place. Victoria Hartwell was escorted out by security after attempting to attack Elena. And by evening, the FBI had opened an investigation into 60 years of Hartwell crimes. 3 months later, Elena stood in front of Holloway House. The restoration was nearly complete. Volunteers had come from across the county working weekends to rebuild what had been destroyed. The east wing was new, now modern and bright, while the rest of the house retained its historic character. Hope babbled happily in her arms, 3 months old, and already showing signs of the fierce determination that ran in Holloway blood. Lily emerged from the front door, paint on her hands and a smile on her face. The nursery is finished. Want to see? Elena followed her inside, past rooms filled with workers and volunteers, up the grand staircase that had been refinished to its original beauty. The nursery was perfect. Yellow walls, just like the one Elena had been forced to leave behind in Boston. White curtains that caught the morning light. A crib with a mobile of silver stars. I used the photographs from your grandmother's files, Lily explained. She had pictures of the original nursery from when your mother was born. I tried to recreate it. Elena couldn't speak. She just held Hope close and cried. Happy tears? Lily asked. The happiest. Behind them, Sophia appeared in the doorway, her own baby bump now prominent. I just got a call from Patricia. Victoria's been denied bail. She'll stay in custody until the trial. And Marcus. Cooperating with the FBI. Apparently, he's turned over everything. Financial records, communications, names of everyone his mother ever corrupted. Sophia paused. He's asking if he can visit, to see Hope. Elena considered the request. Marcus had betrayed her. He had broken her heart. He had participated, however passively, in his family's crimes. But he had also helped bring them down. He had given her the evidence she needed. He had chosen to stand against his mother when it mattered most. Tell him yes, Elena said finally. Supervised visits. He can start earning back Hope's trust, even if he never earns back mine. That evening, Elena sat on the restored porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and rose. Lily sat beside her, sketching in a notebook Daniel had given her. Inside, Sophia was making dinner, her phone playing soft music. And Hope slept peacefully in her mother's arms, dreaming whatever babies dream. "Elena," Lily asked. "Yes. What happens now?" Elena looked at the house behind her, at the family she had built from broken pieces, at the future that stretched out before them full of possibility. "Now we live," she said. "Really live. Not surviving, not running, not fighting, just living. That sounds nice." "It does, doesn't it?" The door opened and Daniel stepped out. "Sorry to interrupt, but there's a woman here. Says she drove all the way from Boston. Says she needs help." Elena and Lily exchanged glances. "What kind of help?" "She says her husband is trying to take her children. She says she heard about what you did to the Hartwells." Daniel paused. "She says you're her only hope." Elena looked at Lily. Lily looked at Elena. Then they both started to laugh. "Send her in," Elena said. "I think we might be able to help." And as she walked back into Holloway House, ready to fight another battle for another woman who had been thrown away, Elena finally understood what her grandmother had meant. Find warmth in the cold. And when you do, share it with others who have been left in winter. She had found her warmth. Now it was time to share it. The woman from Boston was named Rebecca Torres. She sat in Elena's kitchen with trembling hands clutching a cup of tea she hadn't touched. Her story poured out in broken sentences. A wealthy husband, 3 children, years of abuse hidden behind closed doors, and now a custody battle she was losing because her husband had better lawyers. "Everyone told me there was no hope," Rebecca said. "Everyone told me to give up, but then I read about you, about what you did to the Hartwells, and I thought maybe, just maybe." "Maybe what?" "Maybe miracles are real." Elena looked at this broken woman and saw herself 6 months ago. Desperate, terrified, alone. "They are real," Elena said, "but they don't come from wishing. They come from fighting." "I don't know how to fight anymore." "Then we'll teach you." That night, after Rebecca was settled in one of the restored guest rooms, Elena sat with Lily in the library. "We can't help everyone," Lily said quietly. "We don't have the resources. We have more than most. Elena, we're barely keeping this place running. The donations are helping, but they won't last forever. Then we need to find a way to make them last." Elena stayed up until dawn researching nonprofit structures, grant applications, legal frameworks. By morning, she had the outline of a plan: the Holloway Foundation, a sanctuary for women and children escaping abusive situations, a place where they could find safety, legal help, and the support they needed to rebuild their lives. Her grandmother had spent 60 years fighting the Hartwells. Elena would spend the rest of her life fighting for everyone they had hurt. 1 year after Hope's birth, Victoria Hartwell's trial began. The federal courthouse was packed. Media from across the country had descended on the small Vermont town, drawn by the story of a woman who had taken down one of America's wealthiest families. Elena sat in the front row, Hope on her lap, Lily beside her. Victoria was escorted in by federal marshals. She looked smaller than Elena remembered. Older. The year in custody had stripped away her armor of wealth and power. Their eyes met across the courtroom. Victoria's gaze was still cold, still hateful. But there was something else there now: fear. "All rise," the bailiff announced, the Honorable Judge Patricia Williams presiding. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Witness after witness took the stand. Dorothy Chen, describing how her husband had been forced to commit crimes for the Hartwells. Timothy detailing years of judicial corruption. Sophia playing the recordings of Victoria planning her death. And Marcus. Elena hadn't seen him since his last visit to Holloway House 8 months ago. He had been cooperating with federal prosecutors providing testimony in exchange for immunity. He looked like a different person. The arrogant businessman she had married was gone. In his place was a haunted man who could barely meet anyone's eyes. "Mr. Hartwell," the prosecutor said, "can you describe your mother's involvement in the murder of Thomas Holloway?" Marcus's voice was barely audible. "I found documents in her safe, payment records to Robert Chen, instructions for how the accident should be staged. She kept everything. I think she was proud of it." "And did she ever discuss these crimes with you directly?" "Not until after Elena left. After everything fell apart." Marcus's voice cracked. "She told me our family's success was built on blood. She said I needed to accept that. She said the Holloways had always been our enemies and always would be." "What did you do with that information?" "I gave it to Elena. I gave it to the FBI." He finally looked up, finding Elena's face in the crowd. "I tried to do one good thing with my life, even if it was too late." The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts: murder, conspiracy, bribery, fraud, witness tampering. Victoria Hartwell was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As she was led away in handcuffs, she passed directly by Elena. "This isn't over," Victoria hissed. "You'll never be free of us. Never!" Elena stood holding Hope close. "You're wrong. I've been free since the day I walked into Holloway House. You just didn't know it yet." The doors closed behind Victoria Hartwell, and 60 years of Holloway suffering finally came to an end. The year that followed was one of transformation. The Holloway Foundation grew faster than Elena had imagined possible. Donations poured in from across the country, from people inspired by her story, from survivors who understood what she was trying to build. Rebecca Torres was their first success story. With legal help from Patricia Hayes and financial support from the foundation, she won full custody of her children and started a new life in Vermont. She wasn't the last. Maria, a mother of 4 fleeing a cartel-connected husband. Jennifer, whose wealthy family had tried to institutionalize her for speaking out about abuse. Amara, an immigrant whose green card had been held hostage by her controlling spouse. One by one, they came to Holloway House. One by one, they found safety. One by one, they rebuilt their lives. "We need more space," Lily announced one morning, surveying the crowded dining room where a dozen women and children were eating breakfast. "The house is at capacity." "I know. And we need more staff. I can't keep running the art program and managing the kitchen and handling intake and—" "I know, Lily. So what are we going to do?" Elena smiled. "I have an idea." The idea came from an unexpected source. Marcus. He had been visiting Hope regularly twice a month, always supervised, always respectful of Elena's boundaries. He was different now, humbler, quieter, genuinely trying to be a better person. Elena didn't trust him completely. She wasn't sure she ever would. But she had stopped hating him. "I want to help," he said during one visit, watching Hope play in the garden. "Not just with child support, with the foundation." "Help how?" "I still have money, my father's trust fund, not my mother's. It's clean, legitimate." He paused. "I want to use it to build something good. Something that makes up for what my family destroyed." "You can't make up for murder." "No, but I can try to balance the scales, even a little." He turned to face her. "There's a property next to yours, 40 acres, old farmhouse that could be renovated. I want to buy it and donate it to the foundation." Elena studied his face, looking for the catch, the hidden agenda. She found only sincerity. "Why?" "Because Hope deserves a father she's not ashamed of. Because I wake up every day knowing my family's fortune came from blood. Because maybe if I do enough good, I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror again. This won't make us friends. I know. And it doesn't change what you did to me. I know that too." Elena was quiet for a long moment. "We'll accept the donation, through the foundation, with full documentation, transparent, legal, whatever you want. And Marcus? This is for Hope, not for us. There is no us. I understand. The 40 acres became Holloway Village. 10 small cottages for families in transition. A community center with classrooms and a medical clinic. A playground where children who had known only fear could finally learn to be children again. Daniel Morrison oversaw the construction, bringing in the same network of workers who had restored the main house. Lily designed the art studio, where she taught classes to residents and their children. Sophia, who had given birth to a son named Thomas, ran the childcare program. And Elena coordinated everything, somehow finding time between feeding Hope, managing the foundation, and giving interviews to media outlets who wanted to share her story. "You need to slow down," Lily warned her. "You're going to burn out. I'll slow down when there's no one left who needs help." That day will never come. Then I guess I'll never slow down. But Lily was right, and Elena knew it. Hope's second birthday was a turning point. Elena had planned a small celebration. Just their household family, plus a few close friends from town. Instead, she woke to find dozens of people streaming onto the property. Women the foundation had helped, their children, volunteers who had given their time, donors who had given their money, all of them coming to celebrate the little girl who had been born in the midst of chaos and had somehow become a symbol of hope for so many. Surprise! Rebecca Torres was the first to greet her. "You didn't think we'd let this day pass quietly, did you?" Elena was overwhelmed. "How did you organize this?" "Lily did most of it, with help from basically everyone you've ever met." Elena found Lily in the garden, directing the setup of tables and chairs. "You did this?" Lily shrugged. "You've been so busy taking care of everyone else. Someone had to take care of you for once." "Lily, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just enjoy it. For one day, let someone else carry the weight." The party lasted until sunset. Hope, delighted by the attention, toddled from person to person, collecting hugs and presents. She was fearless, this daughter of hers, bold and curious, and completely unaware of the darkness that had surrounded her birth. That was how it should be. That was why Elena had fought so hard. After the guests had gone, and Hope was asleep, Elena sat on the porch with Lily. "I got my acceptance letter today," Lily said quietly. Elena's heart clenched. "The art program in New York? Full scholarship, starting next fall." "Lily, that's wonderful." Elena meant it even as she felt the loss already. "You have to go." "I don't have to do anything. I could stay here. The foundation needs me." "The foundation will survive. Your dreams can't wait." Lily was quiet for a moment. "I spent my whole life with no future, no plans, no hope. And then I came here and everything changed. You changed everything, Elena. You changed things too, more than you know. I don't want to leave. I don't want you to leave either, but we don't keep people here, Lily. We help them fly." Elena took her hand. "Go to New York, learn everything you can, become the artist Margaret always knew you could be, and when you're ready, if you want to come back." "What if I don't want to come back?" "Then I'll visit you in whatever fancy gallery is showing your work, and I'll tell everyone I knew you when." Lily laughed, but there were tears in her eyes. "You're the closest thing to a mother I've ever had," she said. "And you're the daughter I didn't know I needed. Nothing changes that. Not distance, not time, nothing." They sat together in the darkness, two women who had found each other in the wreckage of their lives, holding on to a bond that couldn't be broken. Lily left for New York in September. The goodbye was harder than Elena had expected. She stood on the porch, waving until Lily's car disappeared around the bend, then went inside and cried. Hope found her in the kitchen, tears streaming down her face. "Mama's sad." "Yes, baby, Mama's sad. But it's okay to be sad sometimes." "Lily, come back. Someday. I hope." Hope climbed into her lap and patted her face with tiny hands. Mama brave. Elena laughed through her tears. How do you know that word? Lily told me. She said Mama is the bravest person ever. Lily exaggerates. What sagerates? Never mind, let's go make cookies. Life continued. The foundation grew. The village expanded. More women found their way to Holloway House, each carrying their own burdens, their own stories, their own desperate need for safety. Elena helped them all. Sometimes with money, sometimes with legal aid, sometimes just by listening. She learned that the greatest gift she could give wasn't resources or expertise. It was simply being there, proving by her own existence that survival was possible, that darkness didn't have to be permanent, that even the most broken lives could be rebuilt. Hope grew from a toddler into a curious, spirited child who treated the village residents like extended family. She called every woman auntie and every child cousin. She knew nothing of the circumstances of her birth, nothing of the Hartwells, or the feud, or the fire. She knew only love, and that was exactly what Elena wanted. 4 years after Hope's birth, Elena received a package. It arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, no return address postmarked from somewhere in Europe. Inside was a letter and a small wooden box. The letter was from Robert Chen's son Michael. My father died last month. Before he passed, he asked me to send this to you. He said it belonged to your grandfather. He said he was sorry. Elena opened the box with trembling hands. Inside was a pocket watch. She recognized it immediately from photographs in her grandmother's files. Thomas Holloway's watch, the one he had been carrying the night he died, the one that had disappeared from the accident scene and never been recovered. The inscription on the back read, "To Thomas on our wedding day. All my love, Margaret." Elena held the watch and wept. For her grandfather murdered for his principles. For her grandmother, who had spent her life seeking justice. For her mother destroyed by the weight of inherited trauma. For herself, for Hope, for everyone touched by 60 years of Hartwell cruelty. And somewhere in those tears, she found peace. The cycle was broken. The watch had come home. The feud was finally over. Lily returned to Vermont for Hope's 5th birthday. She was different now, more confident. Her art had been shown in 3 galleries, and critics were calling her one of the most promising young painters in the country. But when she stepped onto the porch of Holloway House, she was still the same fierce, loyal girl Elena had found in the darkness 5 years ago. I missed this place, Lily said, looking around at the expanded village, the gardens in full bloom, the children playing on the lawn. It missed you too. How many families now? 32 permanent residents, another 20 in transitional housing. We've helped over 200 women in total. Lily shook her head in amazement. From a burned-out mansion to this. You built an empire, Elena. Not an empire, a family. Hope came running from the playground 5 years old and already showing signs of Elena's determination and Lily's artistic eye. Aunt Lily, come see my painting. Lily scooped her up, swinging her around. Look at you. You're so big. I'm the biggest in my class. I believe it. Elena watched them together, her heart full. This was what she had fought for. Not revenge, not vindication, just this. Simple moments of joy shared with the people she loved. That evening, after Hope was in bed, Elena and Lily sat in Margaret's study. It had been preserved exactly as Elena had found it 4 years ago. The filing cabinets full of evidence, the corkboards covered with photographs, the family tree on the wall. But there were additions now. Hope's name written at the bottom of the Holloway line, and a new branch extending from Elena's name, Lily Santos Holloway, adopted daughter. Lily noticed Elena looking at it. You didn't have to do that. The adoption, I mean. I was already family. I wanted to. I wanted it official, legal, permanent. Elena touched the family tree. My grandmother spent her whole life trying to preserve this family. I wanted her to know we're still here, still fighting, still growing. Do you think she would be proud? Elena considered the question. Margaret Holloway had spent 60 years consumed by hatred and grief. She had died alone, her quest for justice unfulfilled, her family scattered and broken. But her legacy had survived. Her house still stood. Her granddaughter had found her way home. And from the ashes of that feud, something beautiful had grown. Yes, Elena said finally. I think she would be proud. Not of how we won, but of who we became. Hope's 6th birthday fell on a warm spring day. The party was even larger than her 2nd birthday had been. Residents and alumni, staff and volunteers, friends from town and visitors from across the country. Marcus came too with his son Thomas, who was now 5. The boys played together in the garden while their parents watched. She's amazing, Marcus said, watching Hope lead a group of children in some elaborate game. You've done an incredible job with her. We've done an incredible job. You've been present, Marcus. That matters. I still can't believe you let me be part of her life. She deserves to know her father, the real one, not the man your mother created. Marcus was quiet for a moment. I'm selling Hartwell Industries. All of it. The buildings, the holdings, everything. What? Why? Because every time I walk into that office, I think about what my family did to build it. The people they hurt. The lives they destroyed. He shook his head. I don't want that legacy. I don't want Thomas to have that legacy. What will you do instead? I don't know yet. Something good. Something clean. He looked at her. Maybe I'll work for a nonprofit. Know any good ones? Elena almost laughed. I might. We always need help. Really? Really? But you start at the bottom. Filing, phones, coffee runs. You earn your place like everyone else. I wouldn't have it any other way. That evening after the party wound down, Elena gathered her family in the library. Lily, Sophia, Daniel, Rebecca, Patricia, all the people who had helped build Holloway House into what it had become. And Hope, 6 years old now, curious about why everyone was being so serious. I want to tell you all something, Elena said. Something important. What is it, Mama? Elena took her daughter's hand. 6 years ago, I came to this house with nothing. I was pregnant, terrified, and completely alone. I didn't know if I would survive. I didn't know if you would survive. I only knew that I had to try. She looked around the room at the faces of people she loved. My grandmother Margaret believed in this house. She believed it would protect those who were worthy of protection. She believed someone would come to carry on her legacy. Elena's voice caught. I don't know if I'm worthy, but I know that every person in this room is, and I know that what we've built together is bigger than anything Margaret ever imagined. Elena, what are you saying? Lily asked. I'm saying that Holloway House isn't mine anymore. It belongs to all of us. To everyone who's found shelter here. To everyone who's helped make it a home. She held up a document. I've restructured the foundation, created a board of directors, made sure that even if something happens to me, this place will continue, forever. Nothing's going to happen to you. Sophia protested. Probably not. But I learned a long time ago that you can't predict the future. You can only prepare for it. Elena set the document on the table. This is my legacy. Our legacy. A place of safety for anyone who needs it. A family for people who have none. Hope tugged at her hand. Mama, can I say something? Of course, baby. Hope stood up on her chair so everyone could see her. When I grow up, she announced solemnly, I'm going to be just like Mama. I'm going to help people. I'm going to make them feel safe. And I'm going to give really good hugs. The room erupted in laughter and tears. Elena pulled her daughter into her arms, holding her tight. You already do, baby. You already do. 10 years passed. Holloway House became famous. Elena's story was told in books, documentaries, news programs around the world. Women came from every state, every country seeking the safety she had found. The foundation grew into a network of shelters across America. Holloway Village became Holloway Villages plural. Thousands of families found new lives because one pregnant woman had refused to give up. Elena watched it all with quiet pride. Lily became the celebrated artist everyone had predicted. Her paintings hung in museums and galleries, but she always came home for holidays, always contributed to the foundation's art programs. Sophia remarried a good man who loved her son as his own. She stayed at Holloway House running programs paying forward the help she had received. Marcus kept his word. He sold everything donated, most of the proceeds, to organizations supporting domestic violence survivors, and took a job with the foundation. He was never more than a colleague to Elena, but he became a good father to both his children. And hope. Hope grew into everything Elena had dreamed. Fierce and compassionate, strong and gentle. A leader who lifted others up instead of pushing them down. On her 16th birthday, Hope asked to see her grandmother's study. Elena had kept it preserved all these years, a shrine to the woman who had made everything possible. "I want to understand," Hope said. "Everything you went through. Everything our family went through." Elena spent hours telling her the story. The feud, the murder, the lies, the betrayal, the fire, the fight. Hope listened to all of it without interruption. When Elena finished, Hope was quiet for a long time. "They tried to destroy us," she finally said. "But we're still here. We're still here. And we're helping other people survive the same kinds of things." That's right. Hope touched the family tree on the wall, her name at the bottom. Above it, Elena. Above that, Catherine. Above that, Margaret. 4 generations of Holloway women. "I used to wonder why you never seemed angry," Hope said. "After everything they did to you, to us, I would be so angry." I was angry, for a long time. But anger is heavy, Hope. It weighs you down. It keeps you stuck in the past. Elena joined her daughter at the family tree. "I decided I wanted to move forward. I wanted to build something instead of tearing something down. I wanted you to grow up surrounded by love, not hatred." "But don't they deserve your hatred?" the Hartwells. "Maybe. But I don't deserve to carry it." Elena touched her daughter's face. "You're the future Hope. Not them, not me. You. And I wanted your future to be filled with light, not darkness." Hope hugged her mother tightly. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything. Thank you for being worth fighting for." On Elena's 50th birthday, she received a visitor. She was in the garden reading while Hope, now 18 and about to leave for college, helped younger children with their homework nearby. "Mrs. Holloway." Elena looked up to see a young woman she didn't recognize, early 20s, nervous, holding a small child. "Can I help you?" "I hope so." The woman's voice trembled. "My name is Grace Chen. I think my grandfather knew your grandmother." Elena's breath caught. "Chen. Robert Chen was my grandfather. I know what he did. I know about your family. I've known for years." Grace's eyes filled with tears. "I'm not here to ask forgiveness. I'm here because I need help. My husband, I can't." She broke down crying. Elena stood and gently took the young woman's hands. "Come inside," she said. "You're safe now." "But my grandfather—" "Your grandfather made terrible choices. You're not him. Your child isn't him." Elena guided her toward the house. "We don't punish children for their parents' sins here. We don't punish anyone for their family's past. We only ask one thing." "What?" "That you let us help, and that someday when you're able, you help someone else." Grace Chen stayed at Holloway House for 3 months. She healed. She found work. She built a new life. And on the day she left, she pressed a check into Elena's hands. Every dollar she had earned. For someone else who needs it, Grace said. Because that's how this works, right? We pay it forward. That's how it works. Elena watched Grace drive away with her child toward a future that had seemed impossible just months ago. And she thought about cycles. How hatred had passed from generation to generation. How violence had bred more violence. How the sins of the fathers had fallen upon the children. But also how love could break those cycles. How mercy could heal what revenge could only wound. How one woman choosing hope instead of despair could change the trajectory of families for generations to come. Robert Chen's granddaughter had come to Margaret Holloway's granddaughter for help, and she had received it. The feud was not just over. It was redeemed. On the 20th anniversary of the foundation, Elena stood before a crowd of over 1,000 people. Former residents, their children, their grandchildren, volunteers, donors, journalists, politicians, and in the front row, her own family. Hope, now 26, running the foundation's youth programs. Lily, gray-streaked now, but still fierce, still creating art that moved the world. Sophia, Daniel, Rebecca, Patricia, all of them still there. Still part of the family Margaret Holloway had never lived to see. Elena looked at their faces and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. 20 years ago, she began, I was a pregnant woman with nothing. I had been betrayed by my husband, thrown away by his family, left with no money, no support, no hope. She paused, gathering her thoughts. But I had something they couldn't take. I had the legacy of women who had survived worse. My mother, my grandmother, generations of Holloways who had refused to give up even when giving up would have been easier. I came to this house looking for shelter. What I found was a purpose, a reason to fight, a family I didn't know I had. She looked at hope at the young woman her daughter had become. This foundation has helped over 5,000 women and children find safety. We have shelters in 15 states. We have programs in 20 countries. We have changed laws. We have changed lives. We have changed the world. Her voice strengthened. But we didn't do it with money or power or influence. We did it with something simpler, something the Hartwells never understood. We did it with love. Love for strangers who became family. Love for children who deserved better. Love for each other even when we were tired and scared and ready to give up. She held up the pocket watch Thomas Holloway had carried the night he died. This belonged to my grandfather. He was murdered because he refused to back down from bullies, because he believed in doing what was right even when it cost him everything. My grandmother spent 60 years trying to avenge him. She died before she could succeed, but I don't think vengeance was what she really wanted. I think she wanted what we all want, to know that her family's suffering meant something, that their sacrifices weren't in vain. Elena looked at the crowd, at all these people whose lives had been touched by Holloway House. Tonight I want to tell her, wherever she is, that it meant something. It meant everything. Her fight became my fight. My fight became our fight. And our fight became a movement that will continue long after all of us are gone. She tucked the watch back into her pocket. To everyone who has ever walked through our doors seeking safety. To everyone who has ever donated $1 or an hour or a prayer. To everyone who has ever believed that kindness is stronger than cruelty and hope is stronger than despair. Her voice rang out across the crowd. Thank you. Thank you for proving that one person can make a difference. That one house can become a home for thousands. That one woman, abandoned and alone, can rise from the ashes and light a fire that never goes out. The applause was deafening, but Elena barely heard it. She was looking at her family, at Lily, tears streaming down her face, at Hope standing tall and proud, at everyone who had walked this journey with her. And she was thinking about a letter she had written that morning, a letter to be opened after she was gone, a letter to whoever would carry the torch next. She had written only a few lines. Dear friend, if you're reading this, you've been chosen to lead Holloway House. I don't know who you are or what brought you here, but I know you're worthy. The house always chooses well. You will face challenges I couldn't imagine. You will doubt yourself. You will want to give up. Don't. Remember why we do this. Remember who we do it for. Remember that every person who walks through these doors is someone's mother, someone's daughter, someone's hope for the future. Find warmth in the cold, and when you do, share it with others who have been left in winter. With love. I may never get to show you. Elena, Margaret Holloway. That night, after the celebration ended and the guests went home, Elena walked through Holloway House alone. She touched the walls her grandmother had built. She paused in the rooms where countless women had found peace. She climbed the stairs to the nursery where hope had been born on that desperate, beautiful night 20 years ago. The house was quiet. The house was full. The house was home. Elena sat in the rocking chair by the window, looking out at the moonlit gardens, at the village beyond, at the mountains that had protected her family for generations. She thought about everything she had lost: her marriage, her innocence, her faith in people. And she thought about everything she had found: her daughter, her purpose, her family. A family not bound by blood, but by choice, by struggle, by the decision to love each other even when it was hard, even when it hurt, even when the easier path was to turn away. Hope found her there an hour later. "Mom, what are you doing up here?" "Just thinking." Hope sat on the floor beside the rocking chair, just as she had done as a child. "About what?" "About how lucky I am. About how grateful I am. About how different my life could have been. You made it different. You fought for everything we have." "I did." Elena smiled down at her daughter. "But I didn't do it alone. I never did anything alone. That was the secret your great-grandmother never learned. You can't win by yourself. You need people. You need family. Family isn't just blood. No, family is choice. Family is loyalty. Family is who stays when the world turns cold." Hope reached up and took her mother's hand. "I'm staying, Mom. Whatever happens next, I'm here." Elena squeezed her daughter's hand and looked out at the stars above Holloway House. 20 years ago, she had been a woman with nothing, fleeing into a frozen wilderness, carrying an unborn child and a desperate hope that somewhere, somehow, there was a place where she could be safe. She had found that place. She had made it a haven for thousands of others. She had built a legacy that would outlast her, that would outlast all of them, that would continue as long as there were people in the world who needed shelter from the storm. And in this moment, surrounded by the warmth she had created, holding the hand of the daughter she had fought so hard to protect, Elena. Margaret Holloway finally understood what her grandmother had meant. Find warmth in the cold, and when you do, share it with others who have been left in winter. She had found her warmth. She had shared it with the world. And in the end, that was all that mattered. That was everything. Elena closed her eyes and listened to the house breathing around her, full of life and love and hope. She had won. Not against the Hartwells, not against the darkness, not against anyone or anything. She had simply won. She had survived. She had thrived. She had built something beautiful from the ashes of her destruction. And that she finally understood was the greatest victory of all. Not revenge, not justice, just this. A warm house on a cold night, a daughter holding her hand, a legacy of love that would never die. Elena Holloway smiled and let herself rest. She had earned it.